Okay, so I messed up. We've been recording. Apparently I didn't realize it. So we'll just keep recording. But this is a different hen house. So these are mainly production reds. I thought I did see an egg right here. So you were, well, I thought I did. Oh, it's over here. So y'all were with me. You saw that one feeder, you probably saw me set up the feeder. So one feeder was knocked down. So we set it up, which we expected them to have eaten all their feed. I'm going to try to put some stuff in the, there we go. Watch out, girls. So that just had some debris in the tray needed cleaned out. So that one's about empty too. So I'll bring them feed. That's what they're wanting. They're flocking around me. So now this water is, it is frozen, okay? So I need to bring them water too. So I'm actually going to bring them water first. Let me grab these eggs that are on the floor. We have some, oh yeah. They're putting in their orders. Water and food, please. Okay, so typically we don't have this water freeze up. Let me see over here. Okay, so here, okay, so I still want to get them water, but good news is they weren't totally without water, because this right here, they're able to get into, and there's loose water in there, okay? But they're still going to appreciate water. So let's get them water. I'll show you that. Okay. So then this hen house is happier and quieter now. So we've got them feed in their feeders. That's the main thing they wanted. And we brought them a bucket of water. It doesn't have any ice in it. So we brought this bucket of feed and split it between the feeders. And that's their normal daily ration. With colder temperatures, we'll bump it up and give them a little more. Actually, a little more, up to double. But then when temperatures return to mild, like 40s and up, we won't increase their feed ration. So they had eaten, this hen house typically does eat the feeders clean, regardless of how much we put in it. So then we just wait until the next feed time to ration them again. So they are, some of them going to the water, but I know that they weren't feeling deprived of water, because if they had been, all of the chickens would have flocked to just the water. But this is easier for them to get water from because there's no ice in it. So as we saw there, that water is also positioned fairly close to a heat lamp, and that's helping keep it broke up in that tray, and helping them keep it broke up in that tray where they can get to fresh water. But then we brought this in for a refresher for them, because the temperature of the water, isn't frigid like it would be where it's been in the ice. Heat lamps, so that is the one adjustment we do in really cold temperatures, extreme cold temperatures. And we're not going to have it suspended real low. We're basically just having it there on one hand to try to help us position the water near it and help us have a little bit of warmth to hopefully keep that water thawed for them. And also just a little bit of a heat source, so if one does want to sit under it, that they can feel a little bit of warmth emanating off of that. I'd say those hens they're not utilizing the nest boxes for the egg laying purposes. They're kind of like roosting, staying warm. We've got 2 in that box on the end and 1 in the box beside them. But that's really just for us. We have a comfort level with using the heat lamps. I understand not everybody does. For us to be using 1 heat lamp at a time is really mild, because we're accustomed to raising meat birds in a setting where we might use up to 20 heat lamps in the same building at one time. So using 1 and feeling that it's securely fastened on a suspending setup, we have a comfort level with that. So what we do is when we know it's going to be like below 30, in the 20s and below, we put a 250 watt heat bulb in that. When the temperature goes up, we'll actually swap that heat bulb out for like a 100 watt red light bulb. Because even when we aren't using heat lamps in our chicken pens for our egg layers, we're always using a red light, because we've always been told that that will deter some overnight predators, some nighttime nocturnal predators. The red light, it is said, will deter them from coming into your hen house overnight. So we have a red light on overnight, year-round, for our egg-laying hens to deter small predators from being a nuisance in the hen house. So, deter nocturnal predators from being a nuisance in the hen house. So like I said, so that's one adjustment we do. Normally, that's a 100-watt bulb just for the red light. But when it's going to be frigid, then we swap it out for a 250-watt bulb that will also emanate some warmth on one hand for the hens, but also more for us to use to kind of position the water next to and try to keep it thawed. There are like heated bases that you can put under your waters that will help. Or if you're home and you can be in and out of the chicken pen every couple hours, you can just switch out fresh water for the water that freezes. But water is going to be your main challenge when temperatures drop. And you also want to keep your hens dry, their feet, their combs, etc. And you don't want them drenched because they can freeze quickly if they get soaked and then it gets really cold. So we don't want that to happen. And we don't want frostbite on their combs or their feet if we can avoid it. So basically just making sure that they stay dry will prevent that. So that's what we approach winter with and approach frigid temperatures with. And like I said, you're seeing them real life, real time as far as recording at 16 degrees Fahrenheit outdoors. But we continue to just approach the management basics to face winter. Just make sure that the feed, you stay on top of the feed, you have feed, you don't run out of feed, you can give your hens feed and keep their regular ration to them, be willing to give them a little extra. If they're having to fight real extreme cold, consider keeping the water thawed is going to be probably top priority thing we need to do, and give them a place to stay warm and dry. But then, ours can go outside anytime. So last thing we're going to look at is the production red pullets. Not production red pullets, sorry. These are the production red hens here. We have Rhode Island Red pullets. We're going to go take a look at them. They're in a whole different building. So our view, heading down to the barn. So back here is where we raise the meat birds, but we don't have any meat birds right now. Now, if we were managing meat birds in winter, like everything we've been saying, it would be totally different. Totally different. Because meat birds, they can still tolerate temperature flux like mature egg production birds can. Mature meat birds can. But in general, as far as meat production, we raise them for about 6 weeks at a time. Is the start, grow, and finish of the birds that we raise for meat. We select Cornish Rock cross meat chickens for that. And we're going to go in here and see some egg production pullets. So, but with meat birds, basically our premise is they never want to be less than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are egg production birds that they were hatched October 23rd. So they're 2 months old today. And this is a purebred Rhode Island Red group of birds. So we ordered them as pullets, which would mean they're all females. But in fact, we do know that there's probably at least 2 males in here. So that's okay. We're okay with that. It'll be all right. So again, here we're just looking at food and water. So they do have water, and their water actually is less frozen, more thawed than the ones in the other building. So I actually kind of expected the opposite, but we have 2 heat lamps on closer to the water source, so that may be why, right? So they do need feed. I can see that. So what if we go ahead, I'll just put it on the feeder, but what if we go ahead and give them feed here? So we actually can dump down through the top. There we go. So it's going to be time to get more feed today, because we're just about done in this bag of feed. Okay, and then we got a second feeder. So while I'm recording, I'm not real coordinated, but I'm going to try to pour it in the other feeder. I'll tell you what, I'll pause and pour it and then we'll finish up. Actually, eating there's one of our roosters. We figure there's 2 in this group, but that's definitely one. See how the comb and wattles on this one is way more pronounced than these other birds. So that's a pretty reliable indicator at this age that that's a male. I'm not spotting the other one right at the moment, but we see, you know, the darker red and the more pronounced comb and wattles in the one here. Hopefully you picked him out while he had his head up. But they were ready for food. They had eaten their feeders down. They were ready for food, so they'll eat a little while. And we will at some point see the hens' combs, you know, grow quite a bit more. But the roosters, you see them a little sooner than the hens. So it's great to see them have an appetite. We see some over here being active. So they have lots of room in here to run around, stretch their legs. That helps their growth, helps their mobility. Got some playing over there. But we do have the heat lamps on in here just because this building is not sealed up as tight as where the other hens live. It's just kind of a rustic wood siding. We planned it that way intentionally for really great airflow and great air exchange, but it also lets more air move through here, which can make it cooler when the doors are closed. I'll actually open up doors and let sunlight in, and that's actually going to give us some solar warmth. So, but it's nice to see that their water stayed thawed. I'm sure that's credit to the double heat coming there from the heat lamp. So here's this one that's a rooster, and this one there, somebody was on that one's foot and she couldn't get up. But here's the one that's a rooster. So anyway, so they're doing good. So again, in here, other than we knew it was going to get in the teens, so we had 2 heat lamps on. Other than doing that for them, we didn't really have to do a whole lot of other special things because it was going to get cold. And so these are birds at 8 weeks old. So as long as they have food, water, shelter, can stay dry, and we did go ahead and give them some supplemental heat, then they can manage through some of the temperature fluctuation. I think this is the other one. We think he's a rooster also. I think so. Some of the hens there. So Rhode Island Reds, these will be for egg production for us in 2025. Hey, thanks for joining me here at Twin Oaks Family Farm. This will be our real small farm lifestyle vlog, episode 5. We'll put it up on YouTube, but just wanted to show you, you know, it intimidates people when we know the weather's going to get real cold. How do we help our chickens? I just want to show you, don't be intimidated about it. Just address the basics. The food, the water, the shelter. Keep them dry. If it's going to get cold and you have a way to give them supplemental warmth and you want to do that, you can. But remember, you know, when you take that supplemental warmth away, they still have to deal with potential weather fluctuations and potential cold if we don't put the supplemental heat back. So you don't want to acclimate them to one thing that they're not going to be able to have access to the next time you have an extreme cold. So that's why we try to say, you know, if the chicken is well feathered, they can handle some of the temperatures down into freezing, you know, like the 30s, even maybe the 20s. But if we're going to get much colder, we do want to give them some supplemental warmth. But regardless of temperature, we want to address keeping the water thawed and getting them water that isn't frigid on a regular basis. And we want to address making sure that we keep feed for them, don't run out of feed. And we want to make sure that they have suitable shelter to stay dry and have a chance to get out of that extreme cold and get some windbreak from it and have have some relief from it. So we appreciate y'all joining us. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Thanks so much. Coming up on Christmas, and we hope that you have a merry one and a happy new year. And any of your YouTube folks that you like to watch, easiest thing you can do to help them out with their channels is watch hours. Let the videos play from start to finish. That's a big, big help to the YouTube creators. Thanks, y'all.